Welcome back, everybody, to Season 3 and our first monthly review back with the famous Danielle Cravatt and Sam Comalafe. What's up?
I like it.
Yeah.
I like the motivation.
Yeah, that was totally a ridiculously fake clap. But anyways, we got Jordan, Jamiel, and myself. I just want to say a huge thank you, and I'm so stoked to have you, Sam, and Danielle back. It's been a long time since we've done this, and it means a lot to me that you guys are actually here doing this again because both of you were such a huge part of the early stages of this podcast. And it's just made our friendship so much like deeper and stuff. So welcome back, you guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
you know, now we get to have these talks not just behind the scenes.
Yeah, right? So everybody knows. Real quick, before we start, I did want to show you guys something. I have this video.
Take a village to raise a child, but what if the village is retarded?
He used the R word.
Oh, my God. I freaking love it. I just had to put that up. Yeah, I wanted to show you guys that real quick just because, I don't know, I wanted to show you something funny, and I found that, and I wanted to show you real quick.
That's real shit. That's real shit,
dude. Man. This guy was talking, and he's African-American, but he also got in trouble for saying that he's, you know, it takes a village to raise a child, but what if the village is retarded? I was like, you got a
pretty
point,
much.
Right.
Yeah, that's a huge point.
Yeah, straight up.
Keeping it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Anyways, so let's get this started, you guys. We got about 50 minutes to an hour. There's so much that we can go over, and we actually might start doing these reviews a little bit more just because there is so much happening, and a lot of it, to me, is a little bit unbelievable, and I can't believe we're actually in these times.
Our country is drama. We're dramatic.
Oh, 100%.
So,
yeah, it's the best reality show you've ever watched.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a novella.
Yeah,
novella. Right.
It doesn't end, and there's only like maybe 24 to 48 hours of like a little bit of a break, and then something crazy happens again, and it just keeps on coming. So, entertainment value, we're probably the most talked about in the world, which is pretty dope.
I feel like you also have to pay attention.
Right.
I feel like you also have to pay attention to how fast, like, a topic's already pushed to the side. So it's like, is all this stuff happening intentionally, or are we all just that dramatic in our world right now?
And then which topic is pushed to the side, right? Yeah. Like, is it the topic from the right or the left or whatever?
Well, yeah, I mean, like 3 weeks ago, or I guess it's almost been a month now, the guy running for president got shot in the face, and pretty historic, I would think, and you know, not at all talked about. You know, not that it needs to be brought up every day, but it's like, oh yeah, by the way, that happened. That's pretty crazy.
It blows my
fucking
mind
nuts
that there's no like magazines with something like that on, or news articles, or if you do, it's really just like a one-sided media that you see it on. Like, I feel like that's something you would easily see in the front paper, like the next day, or big magazines, something like that. I know when I recently went to California to go to your thing, Tim, when I was in the airport looking at the book section, I was waiting for like something like that to be on a magazine or a news article, just to buy, just to have for memory, you know, this happened. Not one. But I see Kamala on time. So this makes no sense. It's her time. Let's not forget.
Exactly.
She's an overnight success story.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know if you guys caught any of the DNC, because that was all over every channel for the week that it was on. But I found myself like, I don't know, I try to watch both ends of it, you know, and like, not that I really like the RNC either. It's like, okay, we can only hear so much of the same thing over and over again. But what I thought was kind of crazy was the fact that, like, if you watch the RNC, like, Joe Biden's name was like brought up like 3 or 4 times in total of all the people that were speaking, whereas Donald Trump's name was brought up like, I think it was like 400 and something whatever times of like, this guy is bad and blah 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 blah, and it's just like, you've been in charge the last 4 years, like, you can't, like, if you really look at the scheme of things, as far as like Democrat policies has been running for the last, what is it, like 16 years of the last, or 12 of the last 16 years.
Yeah, 12.
So it's like when the blame game is just like constantly like, oh, it's going to be bad, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. And you're thinking, you're like, dude, you guys have been in charge for quite some time, not saying good or bad. I'm just saying, like, it's weird how like this point of blame is the focal point, and the like fear mongering, if you will, and not like, hey, we're looking to the future, we're looking to this. I thought it was a weird strategy when you're the group in power at the moment and you're just blasting something that happened over 4 years ago in preparation for the next 4 potential years of winning. I just thought it was like a weird campaign strategy.
I think also, I mean, it's partially because like you're going to target the person that's evil. You're going to, really link everything you have around them, because whatever you're doing right now, to your point, Jordan, sucks. You've had right. the floor for a long time, and everyone knows that things are bad. However, what do you do now? You look to the other person that's running, and everyone knows, or everyone thinks that person is basically shit. So let's just ride on that. It's us versus them, us versus him, and he is the leader of this crazy, Republican group. So I really think why not just rest all the negativity, everything you have, on defeating that one person and just completely collapsing, the Republican Party.
Yeah,
I would have liked to heard some more on policy or what they're gonna do.
No.
Didn't hear any of that really.
No,
they got it.
No,
we're good. We're good.
If you're gonna
exactly,
if you're gonna sell me, like, show me some items. What am I buying? Am I just buying to hate one person, or
exactly? That's what you're doing, Dani. That's a huge point. You're buying to hate that person, and that's
all you're doing.
But I think it's like a common game plan with that a little bit. And I mean, a lot of it is in politics in general, like not even like, it's a bipartisan thing where it's like, hey, we promise you something, and it's like whatever side it is that goes, hey, okay, we're going to do these steps. Everyone's like, oh, they got a real plan, or it's just like, yeah, we're going to change it. We know what to do. It's the same thing like when, I don't know if you guys remembered when the Obamacare was being passed, that it came like last minute in the middle of the night, and there was a speech that Nancy Pelosi said where she just said, you're just going to have to trust us to sign it. And it was like, that's a 12,000 page document. Like, you didn't just skim through that. And even if you had a team of people, you would have to have a lot of people to go over that together. And then the product of that was, just trust us and sign it because we have your best intentions. And I'm not even saying whether it's good or bad, and I'm sure it did help some people, maybe hindered some others. But what I'm saying is just in general in politics, when they're talking about like, oh, we got your best interests at heart, I don't know like how much longer that can keep being like the sale point for a lot of politics just in general. It's like, I think people need to be fed up and be like, hey, look, we've heard the same song and dance essentially our entire lives. Like, when is that going to be, like, when are we going to start seeing the things that you're promising? And I'm not saying one side's better than the other, but at least I could say there was things implemented during the smidgen of time we had with Trump that maybe, whether you like him as a person or not, but at least policy driven, it seemed like there was being things that were pushed, as opposed to, and my favorite thing to do is like look at reaction videos when people are interviewing, like, oh, you're voting for Kamala Harris? What's the most favorite thing that you think that she's done since she's been in office? Because it seems like most people they interview forget that she's been the VP, and when they ask a question, there's nothing. You can't. I mean, like, even myself, I'd be like, well, I don't know. What has she really done? It's like, we know that she didn't do a lot with the border. We know that she hasn't done like foreign relations. Like, maybe she had a speech where she was talking about support of Ukraine once, and that was early on in the conflict.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, and it's like, okay, well, now this lady is going to be the potential president of the United States. I would hope that she would have more to bring to the table as the commander in chief and not the second two, right? So it's it's a weird time, I
Well,
think.
didn't Reagan have? I believe Reagan said something like that. Like, what are 4 words you never want to hear from the government? I mean, or 3 words like "trust us"
It's
or "I'm here to help" or
no,
something like that.
it's hello, it's the government, and we're here to help.
I'd be,
Nice. Nice.
Yeah,
dude.
I just want to be in the
yeah,
That
stands,
makes
just
sense.
like prove it
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, like, and you had a good point, right? Nancy Pelosi says, just trust us, right? Like, trust you. The one who helped shut down the economy in California, yet you could still go to a salon when you told everyone else they couldn't. I mean, that's just like a tip,
No,
like a
it's,
very
yeah.
minuscule thing of all the things that she's done, right? How does she go and making a government salary and come out a millionaire 100 times over? She only makes like 150 grand a year, right? So it's like,
All of
175.
them.
yeah, so you're
All
telling
of
Yep.
them
us
are
to-
like multimillionaires.
yeah, and they're
Yep.
saying,
On-
trust us. You want us to trust you, just like, let's be real, like, what are they calling Kamala Harris? Commie Kamala or something? There's like a name that's awesome, dude.
That's good.
You don't want to
That's
hear
good.
my name.
Yeah, it's like Commie Kamala or something else, but
That's
she's
good.
supposed to be the border czar, right? And we are seeing the most amount of infiltration by illegal immigrants in the United States, which is our country. Now, I say that, you know, I don't mind if people come here and do it the right way. You come in, you become a citizen, you're contributing to taxes, you're doing just like the rest of us. But when you come in illegally and you're taxing the system to a max, which is affecting us and the future of my children, we have an issue. Not even just that, but the terrorists that are coming through. You know, there's so many bad things that come with this whole border thing, and you're seeing it right now, and I think it's Aurora, Colorado. I know we talked about this before coming on, but there is is it a Venezuelan gang, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's taken over apartment complexes. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that a little bit, but the videos that I saw, they're what is it? Not ransoming, but they're swindling people for money, extra rent, making them pay the gang to be there. How is that happening on U.S. soil? That's the craziest thing to me. I'm like, how in the world is this happening? And then Kamala and all these people, and that governor of Aurora is crazy, or the governor or mayor, whoever it is. I'm like, the news clippings or whatever you see him on social media, he says it's fake. Oh, that's not happening. Well, of course you're not seeing it, probably because you're denying it, and 2, you're in your gated community. What about the rest of the working class and those who are poor, who are struggling to put food on the table when inflation's already high, and now you got illegal immigrants and gang members from another country that are as bad as MS-13 taking over apartment complexes?
But
Right.
how
glad
dare
you
you
mentioned
walk
that.
the Capitol building on January 6th?
Right.
How dare you be in the facility?
It's so frustrating to watch, and I'm going to be a father soon, and just to think of my baby girl's future, what's going to happen to her, and hearing not just in America, but what's happening around the world, right? We're seeing it in Europe, in Germany, all these illegal immigrants, right? They said, oh, yeah,
France.
take them on in. This is the thing to do. Yeah, France. Dude, the crime, the theft, and the rape is through the roof. The stabbings of teenage women and adult women, kids, raping. I mean, there was one article that came out the other day. It was like a 13-year-old girl was raped and stabbed to death by like 6 dudes. And it's just no big deal. Who cares? I'm like, dude, what's happening? Anyways, I'm sorry. I'm just going off on this, but it's been something that's really, really frustrated me.
Well, there's a lot of good points. I mean, like, I think at the end of the day, I think what we're seeing is the virtuous feelings of what people think should be don't align in reality. And and I feel like the premise of like, hey, we can all live together and have everyone come in, there's good people, like living your life like that, it's like there's a certain amount of like naivety to it, and I think that the premise isn't bad, because it just means you probably have like you feel like people are like naturally have good intentions. And there's a lot of people that do. And like that's like why this conversations, like every time I talk about it, I feel like I end up being like, build a wall, keep everyone out, single file line, all this stuff, and like, and I'm not saying that's wrong either, but there needs to be a vetting process that's effective, because what you see is like, one, we don't have one, or we don't have a very developed one. And, I mean, I don't know what the last numbers were, because depending on what news you subscribe to, you probably, there's 10 to 20 plus million people that have come over the border in the last, 4 years. And whether that's, good people or, let's say it's percentages of reality. It's like not everyone's good. It doesn't mean that everyone's bad, but it means that like out of 100 people, there might be 2 rapists, killers, gang affiliates, whatever. And if we as a society are like, you know what, that's not bad. Okay, it's not bad until it affects you. It's not bad until it's your kid that gets raped and killed. It's not bad until you have that whole situation. Then all of a sudden, I guarantee you're singing in a different tune, and I think that's the problems that we face moving forward. So that's like the idea of having like a vetted system. And the unfortunate side of that is that means we're probably going to be turning people away too. But again, pick what avenue you want to be virtuous in. Is it the homeless? Is it the people that actually need help? Are you talking inner cities? Are we talking about people outside the country? Is it global conflict? There's so many things to be spread upon. It's like we need to fine tune some importance things here. Are we going to take care of us, the people in the United States, then start branching out? Because in my opinion, I think that's what's more important. We need to take care of the people that are here. Get that shit ironed out, and then we can start being the world police again. Because at the end of the day, we can't do both. There isn't enough money, there isn't enough time, there isn't enough manpower to be able to facilitate all these things. And I'm tired, and I agree with you, Tim. I'm tired of seeing that too. It's like, look, even within our own country, we have those problems. Like rapists, trafficking, all this other stuff, that doesn't go away even if we did have a zero entry of the country. We still have those issues here. So it's like, stop overextending ourselves and having an inability to control what's within our own borderline, And again, saying that, I'm sure makes me sound like I don't want people to come here. And that's not true at all.
Oh, no.
But
I'll put a no vacancy sign. Like,
or like, hey, dude, give us like 2 freaking years. Give us a little bit of time to iron some things out, and then we're like, okay, have a vetting process. Because look, at the end of the day, when people come here and they bring a good work ethic and that attitude to it because they want to live out that American dream, I'm all for it. Like, do it, because they're contributors to society and they're probably awesome people, But at the same time, to just say, hey, that's not that big of a deal. Oh, you're misinformation, blah, 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 blah. It's like, I'm sick of hearing that. And then seeing what you said, because I think the rape and stabbing, wasn't that in the United States recently?
I don't know if it's the United States, but I've read a lot in France, Germany. It's pretty bad, dude.
UK.
Yeah, UK. It's real bad. I mean, it's like here. They're putting illegal immigrants over citizens. It doesn't make any sense, and
I got one.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry. I just didn't want to forget about it.
No,
it's on topic. But did you guys hear about what they're passing in California for illegal
you mean
residents?
the $150,000 they're gonna get for a new home?
I was like gonna think, which one?
Yeah.
Which one?
Oh.
Because I've heard several things.
Which one?
Yeah.
Yeah. My God.
Oh,
we lost Jordan. Come on, Jordan.
There he is.
Oh,
sorry.
He's back.
It was stupid.
No, that's another solid point. I'm trying to get off track here, but when you're putting other people from other countries ahead of your citizens, the collapse is coming. We're not going to be able to sustain that forever. I mean, you have people such as, let's be real, right? Dani and her husband, they left California for a better life.
Yeah.
I don't blame them. I want to leave California soon. Sam's working.
Freedom State.
Yeah, Freedom State, right? Sam and Jordan, you guys are both working your butts off. Sam, your lady she's in school working to do well for herself, right? And we're citizens of this state and in this country. You're going to reward others for coming over here illegally, which is the key word.
Yep.
Yet you are obeying the laws, paying your taxes, being a good citizen. And what do you get?
Shit.
High interest rate. Nothing. Zero. You can't even, how are people, look, I'll tell you right now, in my agency where I work as a firefighter, there are many of our young firefighters who cannot live in Southern California on our pay anymore because it's too expensive.
Yep.
And that's crazy because let's be real. Like, the reality is most people in public service, we get paid okay. We're not rich. We're not, on the poor level, but we live comfortable, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're putting 20% down on a house homes that are now as fixers $1 million, your house rich, cash poor, most of these guys are paying $6,000-$7,000 on a mortgage. That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, that was going to be the point I was going to bring up about that, is that, like, I don't, of all the information that's come out about it, it seems like they don't do any of the explaining side of what that legislation would mean if this passes. So it passed in the assembly, but I don't think Newsom signed it into law yet. But if it passed in California Congress, passed in the assembly, it's more than likely going to pass for Newsom. But what I'll say is that information is kind of like, it's still like an obscurity. So I did a little digging to see what that meant. And essentially, like you said, so it's $150,000 up to for the 20% of a down payment. So that would put your value asset of what you can get into at about $860,000 roughly.
Wow.
Right? Which again would buy you a house in most places, depending on where you're at. But what they do not list anywhere that at least I could find was who's going to be doing the funding on the bank loan. So even if you, let's say you had a family member that was very wealthy and was going to give you a down payment for a down payment, let's say they're going to give you $150,000. Even if you finance the rest of it, which is I'm assuming what's going to be happening, is that your payment on a 30-year fix is still going to be over $5,000 a month minimum, right? And that's not including that if you had any
That's so crazy.
If any one of us were doing that, or if we couldn't come up with the 20%, depending on what people know about mortgages and home buying, you're going to pay PMI, with this interest against your loan until you hit the 20% equity into the house. And you still have to come up with interest on top of your loan to pay your loan, plus interest, plus the state tax, which depending on where you're purchasing that could be anywhere. But I mean, if it's an $800,000 house at 2%, $16,000 extra a year, right? So now you're going to get qualifications on people that are potentially non-citizens, that are making that can come up with $5,000 to $6,000 a month for a mortgage on top of everything else, right? So it's like, it doesn't say anything that if you qualify for WIC or food stamps or any housing, or schooling, whatever, it doesn't say that you can only use one and not get this. It just says undocumented, that you would be able to qualify. So my question was, one, how is the state going to recoup costs on that, and what's that going to do to availability? They don't put a cap on people that are like, oh, we're going to do it for 1,000 people, we're going to do it for 10,000 people. It just says open, right? So okay, so that means everyone's going to qualify. So what will that do to the system? They're going to bog everyone down. Which banks are funding it? Who's going to be coming up with the money? What's that going to do to property tax? Is that how they're going to offset it? Are we everyone's going to bump up 1%, which is a lot of money for a lot of people as far as what they're paying for. So there's so many questions that are left open-ended that are like, holy crap, dude. Like, not to mention, if you are going to be a citizen here, or if that's in the short-term potential, or let's say long-term potential of what you want to do if you are undocumented here, you're going to be potentially screwing yourself over if you don't come up with that, because your name now, whether you're registered or not, is going to be attached to a defaulted loan. Now, it doesn't mean that everyone. I'm sure there's going to be, again, we're talking about percentages of masses of people. There are going to be people that come over that get after it and probably make the payments, or maybe coming over here with money and they happen to be undocumented. But there's going to be a lot of people that aren't. And there's going to be a lot of people, just like in 2007, before the whole Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac thing crashed, where you have people that were fry cooks qualifying for $750,000 loan payments. And then all of a sudden, when their balloon loan went up in 3 years, they couldn't figure out how they were paying $1,200 a month and now owed
Right.
$7,000 a month.
I would
Right.
laugh.
So
Yeah.
we got to see what that did. It decimated the market. Now it opened up some
Yep.
doors for people that had a little cash,
Yeah.
but it foreclosed on tons of people. The government had to bail out billions and billions of dollars to defaulted loans. Like it's going to be the same thing, just at a different angle. So when I hear this kind of stuff, it's like, dude, like again, and I'm not saying that I'm broke. I'm not, and I'm not rich either, So it's like, but for me to try to invest into my future, when now it's like, okay, well, because I'm a homeowner, now am I going to get screwed on the back end of this? I would guarantee that being the possibility, because how else are they going to get the money?
Yeah.
Unless they just bring up state income tax, which would probably be the smartest way to do it, and not take people out that already have homes here. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Sam and Danielle, what are your thoughts on this with, what we're talking about, Aurora, Colorado and California giving $150,000 to people who aren't even
Well,
citizens?
for starters,
Yeah.
I think 150 doesn't even put a down payment on a house in California.
Not
In
anymore.
reality,
No.
like
Maybe a condo?
you're looking
Right.
for like a house that's like under 500. And is there any over there unless you're like way out in the
Nope.
boonies?
So
Realistically,
No.
Nope.
So
Even in lower income areas.
$150,000 is
Yeah.
$150,000 will get you into $860,000 price home. So that's roughly what 20% is.
That's
so
not even a
Okay.
fixer
You
in
can
my
get-
area. A fixer
Yeah.
in my
Yeah, but
area
you-
now. You guys know where I live. Fixer in my area now
Yep.
is over $900,000.
I was going to say
oh
900.
yeah,
sorry.
I believe
Yep.
it.
Mhm.
I believe it.
Yeah. But what you said, I don't know, condos. So that's going to be like, I would assume that would be like the target purchase. If you're going to apply for this and you're going to be able to qualify and not live exactly where you want, but maybe close to without being out in the sticks somewhere, that's probably what it's going to be at condos. But again, now you're talking about association fees and all these other things. Like, and is the government, what would be interesting with that is that would the government, or at least the California state government, will they have to override the ability to say, like, because like if you have association stuff, they can tell people no and move things around, which is messed up if you're just trying to buy it standard. But in this case, it's like, well, I can kind of see if they're like, okay, they're qualifying for this loan that we have zero information on, and then are they just going to tie into this? And we all know in California, your squatters' rights are ridiculous. So
Yeah.
it's basically like there's just, I can't believe it's happening. There's a ton of problems that could be associated with it, and there's not a lot of clear text on how they're going to do it. There's a little bit on talking about making the money back, which they said they owe 20% of the equity that they'd achieve over 10 years. That's on the assumption that it would be higher in 10 years than it is right now. But it's just bad. I don't know. I think it's bad policy.
So,
Go
so
ahead.
I don't know. I was just going to say I'm not hopeful. Jordan, you mentioned that there are undocumented people that come over and maybe they have a little money, and then there are the other ones that are just completely broke. And I think one of the reasons for coming to America is because you need better stability, a better life. Where you were coming from was horrible, so part of what makes you come here is just a lack of resources, and you're going to get them when you get here, and that, so that's why you come. And then, so if we're going on that assumption, then what do you have? You have nothing, so I'm not hopeful that, I don't know what the banks are going to do. It's going to be just a complete shit show because these people aren't going to have, the means to gain or pay back. I mean, really, if we realistically think about how they can, a lot of people will succeed, I just, with these particular loans, I don't know. I don't know how that happens,
What I would say is like look at how like the welfare system is set up,
Right.
right? So like there are like caps on certain things, but they're not like zeroed out at a time. Like you can reapply and qualify, and if you're on, that's why we see a lot of, there's a lot of abuse in that because it's not stringent. It's not like, hey, we can put you on welfare and you have 5 years. and then if you haven't figured it out in 5 years, that's on you. Like that doesn't exist here in this state, right? Because, and again, doesn't mean it's for everybody. And it just means that, like, and, there are going to be the people that rise up, and then there's going to be the people that are like, this is good. Like, this is better than where I'm from. And we had nothing, and now we get this, and now I know how to work the system. And there's people that do that. So the corruption that is associated with that is, like, in my opinion, doesn't really end, nor do we have any incentivization to get out of it. So that's where I see, like, it's just, we're just adding another layer of complexity problems to the state, in a state where we're already seeing big vendors, big people. They're like, like Musk got out of here. There's a couple other, what was one of the gas companies is leaving, or they're like shutting down one of the refineries and moving to Texas.
Oh, that's Chevron. Chevron's moving their headquarters.
Oh, wow.
From I think it's El Segundo Torrance to Texas.
It's north of that. I think they have a Bay Area headquarters where they're going to move that over to Texas. So, but what I'm getting at is that there are big players in this that see writing on the wall that there's no benefits of having massive corporations. And again, I know it's the people with the big money, but typically those coincide with massive numbers of jobs and creating sustainability within the areas that they work. So people might get pissed. They're like, oh, these rich people, they're paying low taxes, blah, blah, blah. They're also providing jobs for tens of thousands of people. So again, what do we do? And it's just like the only way is to either limit things or stop things from coming in and trying to take care of the people that are already here, because it's a laundry list of problems. And we're going to keep running into the same thing, but we're in election season and everyone's got the answer for the next 4 years, when the reality is, dude, we're on like 100-year path of trying to actually fix something. Most of the things that we're talking about in this very moment won't be fixed in our lifetime. So it's going to be, because, look, it's government, it's bureaucracy, it's slow moving, it's all these other things that we won't see the change in our lifetime. And the hope is, like Tim, like we were talking about, your kids and like my kids, your guys' kids, everybody. The point is to try to change the trajectory to have a more solid future. And I know that doesn't sound very fun, because it's not. It's not going to be fun, and it's not going to be helping everyone all at the same time. Even though that may be a nice feel-good goal, the reality is that they do. It's like, look, no one likes rules. I think that's very simple, right? Or at least growing up, we didn't like rules. You don't like to get told what to do. And some of us take that attitude into our adulthood, and then some of us realize that, like, hey, even though I don't like it, there's shit that I have to do to be successful moving forward. And that's not a fun conversation, and it doesn't hit every category of who's listening. But that's the reality to make things sustainable moving forward in hopes to generate a better society. And, and going back, dude, I'm so sorry I cut you off with the home buying thing, because I still want to talk about the Aurora, Colorado thing.
That's where I was going to head on to. Aside from my bad math, with the 20%. But but back to like Aurora, that's like a perfect example. If Vice President, and I say Vice President because I want people to hear Vice President Kamala as much as they can, so they can realize this is our Vice President right now. So many of these things can be, I don't want to say so many, but like things can be fixed because she is our Vice President present. It's not, we're waiting to bring you in. You are in. Like, that should be perfect enough. Yeah, you've been in. So very where have you been? Very good. But she does win this election. Like, to me, what's going on in Colorado is the perfect example of what our country can be like if completely under this control. I mean, she's already in the administration, like, if we want to get a little nostalgia.
Yeah.
There you go.
I love that.
Yeah. But that's what I fear more than anything. I feel like I'm honestly feeling like I'm prepping myself for that happening, because even though it sounds so much like you got it in the bag, it's like You can't underestimate them. I know they like seem really stupid on the surface, especially her, but it's like they're good at cheating, or they're good at somehow weaseling their way to get what
Yes.
they want. And
Yeah.
if they don't, they throw a tantrum and destroy things. So it's like it's absolutely ridiculous. It blows my mind how some people, you don't have to even really study any of these things. Is all you really have to do is look at your environment. Look at the differences between blue states and red states. Like it's that simple for just common sense.
Right.
Well,
Right.
yeah. Just go ahead, Sam. You have some.
Well, I was just gonna say. So you guys have seen the video of the Venezuelans in that
Yeah.
apartment complex
Yeah, I've seen
with
multiple.
huge rifles. Yeah,
Yeah.
man, and
Yeah.
it's just it's crazy because if you pan out, there's videos that pan out and show the whole complex, and it's a very, very rough neighborhood. And I've heard that it's multiple complexes. And what's so crazy is that, Tim, you mentioned the governor, saying whatever, he's saying some crazy shit, and you have the governor. They're asking him what's going on, and they're saying, well, Dani, what is the main, because they're not really highlighting
Mm-hmm.
the Venezuelan impact. It's more of what is it, code. The buildings aren't up to code. So, we're going to shut down the buildings, and allegedly, this has been happening for months. But now that the Venezuelans have taken over, it's let's
Yeah.
shut everything down, and they're not even talking about why. They're just
No.
saying it's code. We're just gonna, and there's been several Teams and Zoom meetings where that's all they're talking about, and then they're shutting the conversation down. And one of the interviews that the governor had that really stuck to me was, he was like, we really got to see where this nonprofit money is going, and maybe it may be going to Aurora. And if that nonprofit money is going to Aurora, then that's probably how you're getting, tons and tons and tons of Venezuelans that are flooding that particular area in Colorado. And then if you have such a crazy impact, so many people, I read something that that Aurora has the most migrants per capita. It's obviously a smaller region, but I don't know. I read it, but
Really?
I wrote, yeah, the most per capita. So if you have all these people
It's
flooding in,
crazy.
Jordan, to your point, that may have some money, some may have some money, most don't. How are they going to get money? They're going to
Yeah.
rob, kill, they're going
Building
to do whatever
inspectors.
they can.
Yeah.
Right, man. So I mean, it's almost
I was
like
like,
it's it's bound to happen.
Well,
I'd be
yeah.
terrified to live in any of those buildings with my
Oh,
Oh
children.
my
I'm just
God.
like
I would be
Oh,
I
immediately out.
couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine the fear of some of those families are going through. It's
Well, it's
mind
terrible
blowing.
because I remember, I was watching some article. So I'm actually on Twitter, which is now X, and I go there for a lot of news now because people post stuff that you will not see on mainstream
Oh, yeah.
media. And I'll say this right, it's wild still. There's some crazy stuff on there, so watch what you search. But you see, there's more than just 2 videos. Yeah, be careful what you search, dude. Because I'll sit there sometimes at night. I'm just like, I'm just gonna keep going, and you'll flip through videos.
Oh,
Next thing you know, like, oh my god, yeah, someone's getting her head cut off with a cartel. It's like, why is that on there?
Yeah.
But you're seeing there's more than 2 videos in Aurora, Colorado. There's a lot on X that is not shown on our national news networks, and it's really is suppression. I don't know how you want to say this. They're controlling the narrative, right? There's a
why,
bigger
Tim?
yeah. There's
Right,
a bigger
right.
purpose behind what's happening, right? They're pushing all those. There's a reason why all those immigrants are at Aurora, Colorado. And that's like the highest intake of them, right? Like, what are they trying to do? And what you're seeing, and I'll say you're seeing it around the world right now. I think it's in Brazil. They just banned X. They want
Wow.
control of the narrative. Like, the people don't have free speech anymore. The UK, all around the world, they're banning X and certain social media sites for news because they don't want the truth out. They want to control the narrative. And if people don't think that that's coming for America, especially if Harris gets in, you got something coming. I really believe if Harris does get in, we're already in hard times. More hard times are coming. Things will change big time, and you will see a very, very big push of people taking away free speech. Actually, probably the Constitution. I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people, but you're seeing it play out around the world. And if you don't think that these governments are talking to each other and trying to figure this out, you know, they just arrested the guy who made
Telegram,
not WhatsApp.
That's right.
Telegram, right?
Telegram.
Because he's not moderating it like they want him to. And he's like, dude, this is free speech. People can say whatever they want. I'm not going to sit there and tell people what they can and cannot say. French is like, really? How about we arrest your butt? You know, so if people
do you think they'll go after Zuckerberg?
Like
he's kind of coming out a little bit.
He did kind of reveal a bit much. I don't think they will. I think it's Elon. I 100% think they're going to go after Elon Musk. You know, because if you look at X, he's bringing back people that they originally banned before he bought it, right? What's his name from InfoWars? What's his name? Alex Jones. Yeah. He's got his account back, and he is blasting. Some of the stuff is crazy, right? You don't think it's going to be real, and the next thing you know, you're like, hey, he was right. It happened. Mm-hmm. You know, and the same.
He's been he was right with so many things. It's like, what more do you need? How much more do you need? How many kids need to go missing for you to you know, bring up the Epstein list again? Come on, like how is none of this happening? Like,
you have a great
point. That's
what
drives me mad. Yeah.
Under Kamala Harris, over 300,000 children have gone missing and into sex trafficking across our border.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
300,000. I just read that the other day. And no one's saying anything about it. Everyone's like, whatever, dude. It's okay. You know, and they're going to put
But the children in cages, Tim.
Oh, my God. Look, there's...
That's what No, they care more about if they can go get an abortion than they do about these kids. But, you know, a few years back, it was all about the children in cages. But let's forget about the 300,000+ kids that are missing, and I want to make sure I can get an abortion too at the same time. So it's like,
Danny, have you seen that Trump ad? Oh, sorry, Jordan. I was just gonna real quick. Have you seen that Trump ad with Kamala? It's called Kamala versus Kamala, and she's saying she says something. You know.
Oh, where she's like flip flopping.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, oh shit.
I mean, I don't know if you guys saw. At the DNC, they were doing free. I think they were doing free vasectomies and abortions.
Yeah.
At the DNC, that was like a promo thing. Yeah,
to me, that feels like a religion thing.
That's wild.
Like that's what like the satanic rituals do is like you sacrifice something, you end that. That's what it feels like because what is infertility or whatever any of that have to do with politics technically when you think about it?
That's a great point.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Like to me it feels more like it's just like a cult thing.
But that's one of the major running items though. Like if you had to say what is what's Kamala Harris going to push like her top 3 things.
Oh, I know.
In that top 3, one of them is going to be like
the Roe versus Wade stuff,
Well, yeah, but I mean, like it'll fall under that classification, right? So it's like that's what's so important is to be, and I'm not saying that it's not important because there are, you know, choice and all that stuff. There's a level of importance to it, but when your campaign slogan is going to be like, this is one of the major things that I'm fighting for, I think that's a weird priority when we have a laundry list of other issues.
Yeah.
Huge
I would think that a lot of people are very important. And again, like, you know, the abortion rights and everything like that, like, obviously everyone's got a different opinion on them, and I'm not going to even try to explain mine. I feel like there is a level of importance to it, but it's like in the big picture of where we're at as a country, I think that's a little bit lower down on the list. You know, because again, right, the Roe v. Wade overturning and all that stuff, and they're trying to be like, well, according to Project 2025, Trump's going to do this, and it's like, no, what everyone, or at least what he has stated, is it's going to fall back on the state. So if you don't like what your state's rights are, then move, you know, or try to go to somewhere else if you really need that.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't want to get too deep into that, but I just mean like priority. what's
It should be
important,
at the
what's important for the
bottom.
country.
It should be towards the bottom of the list with what we have. On top of that, if they have things their way, majority of the stuff's going to be stripped from us regardless. So you're going to be constantly fighting for a right somewhere with them.
Right.
But I just feel
Right.
like that's such a, and this is coming from a woman, you know, that I know of, but that's what I identify as. So I don't know why I'm looking around, but you know, like, but it's like, really, it's just like so many other things are going to be stripped from you that are more important that you need to survive. And that's your priority. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So
it's low-hanging
we're not
fruit.
talking about exactly low-hanging fruit, and we're not talking about like the big picture, right? We're talking about, you know, what are these families, people going through today, and it's well, they're going to need abortions all the time. So let's just target that, and then let's target this, and then but these huge things like like illegal immigration. That's way too abstract. That's way too big. You know, let's focus on these small things, one after the other, and then, you know, if that's still there, maybe we'll talk about it. But no, I don't think. I think the audience that they are focused on are dealing with those issues that you brought up, Jordan. I mean, it's or they're not dealing with bigger issues. I'm sorry, they're dealing with the smaller things on a day-to-day basis. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, they're going to continue to focus on that.
They're keeping it simple, stupid. So.
Exactly. Keep it as simple as stupid.
100%. And it's, again, like I use the term the low-hanging fruit because if as long as you can deflect with virtuous situations, then it's going to keep, like, look, like at the end of the day, like whatever base you're talking about, like whether you're Republican, Democrat, you're Trump, or you're in favor of Kamala, or anyone that was not technically elected but appointed to the position of the candidate, which that's crazy, by the way. You know,
is that how democracy works?
Right.
Yeah. You let the other guy pick it for you.
Weird.
You know, and I just think that like it's the unfortunate side of this to me is that like I think it's going to be a lot closer because I just think the way the system's set up, we're already kind of seeing, you're starting to see there's certain states that are like, we're going to try to pass like voting rights laws, or we're not going to agree to something. I think it was Pennsylvania said that they're already committing to like 9 days after the election before they have to submit their final numbers.
What?
And you know, like, I mean, look at I got one. I'm so glad I remember this.
I gotta get one.
Another thing, and I only am saying this because when I first read it, I thought it was like a right-wing kind of propaganda piece, and it was basically stating that like there had been some, I don't know if it's legislative changes or whatever, like constitutional changes to what the criteria of voting rights would be, and stating that something was changed in the last year or so that allows for non-citizens to be able to vote. And I was like, bullshit, there's no way. Like, I mean, like, okay, you got my interest, what's this all about? So I did a little digging and was just looking on the it's like judicial.gov, whatever. It's our judiciary website from the government that says under the voting rights that it starts off by saying that if you're not a citizen, you can't participate in the general election. It's under perjury of law time, and you could be fined up to this, spend 5 years in prison, yada, yada, yada. At the bottom, underneath, the subcontext states what parameters of citizenship means. And on the last bullet point states that if you believe it to be true at the time of voting as a citizen, that you can vote. And that says it on there. And I'm not making that up. And I wish I could post up the little snap because I was going to post this and be like, you got to be kidding me. Like, someone please prove this wrong kind of thing. And
if you believe it to be true, Jordan, you got to say that again.
It says at the time of casting the vote, if you believe it to be true that you are a citizen, you could move and do so, and so on and forth. It's written
like, why even have the question? It's like, why even have the
I
question?
always believe it. Everyone
Well,
believes it.
it's
I'd be
almost
like,
going along with
officer,
what
I thought I
you.
could steal his money from the bank.
Right.
I thought everyone said I could take it.
That's
You know what I
actually
mean? Like,
happening right now.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that later. Do you guys know that whole Chase
Damn.
hack?
No.
No.
Oh, it's happening
no.
in the hood. It's hilarious. There's a bunch of people in the hood. They have found this Chase hack, and now, but the bank can trace that you screwed them over, and their bank accounts show like negative 10,000, 20,000. We'll talk about that later, but it's almost
shit.
like for them to. What you're saying,
Yeah.
Jordan, is they identify. It's like everything else, right? I
Oh,
identify as a
God.
man. I identify as a woman. I identify as a cat. I identify as pansexual, right? Well, I identify as a citizen, so I should have the rights of a U.S. citizen. That's crazy.
I mean, that's how I read that.
Yeah,
you know,
so
and
let's get down to
believe
the
it.
nitty-gritty of this, right? The entire reason they want an influx of immigrants is because they want their vote. That's it. They want
Yep.
power. This is all about power and control. But what most people don't realize is when this happens, you're going to see the collapse of our societies. We can't fund millions of immigrants coming and not, giving to the system, paying taxes.
Exactly.
How's that going to work out for us? I mean, think about just California right now. I think California is going to crash and burn eventually. All these major corporations are gone. You got Tesla, you got Chevron. You think was it Toyota? There's so many big companies that are gone and small businesses that are leaving. You're talking about billions of dollars of revenue gone. That now, Danny, you're gone. Falls on me, Jordan, Sam, everyone else who's paying taxes here. That's just going to continue to climb up. On top of the more taxes they want to bring, which I'm sure you guys have heard this too. Kamala Harris is talking about taxing unrealized gains, okay? Meaning, this is great, okay? Say you bought a home for $500,000. Now it's worth $1 million. You don't really have that money in the bank account, right? Until you sell that house. Now she wants to tax you on that equity of $500,000, 25% or so. I think it's like about 25%. So
This can't be real, man.
Oh no, this is real.
Oh my God!
Do
Get
you
out
realize,
of
like,
here.
if they,
Seriously?
they want to tax you on unrealized gains. This is it's a big deal right now. That means, say I have $500,000 in equity. Where am I going to come up with 25% of that?
Exactly.
Sounds like
That
you're gonna be
means
my
your
neighbor
house.
soon.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, you're either going
We're
to
all coming,
owe
Daddy.
them hundreds of thousands of dollars, or you're going to sell your house and you're going to be gone. Right? No one's going to be able to own a home. Right? But if you think about communism and the tactic to get there, that's it. They want government control. They don't want anyone to own anything. Right? You have equity. You own home. You have power. Right? You have a little bit of power. You have a little bit of say-so, right? You're a contributing, tax-paying citizen. You have equity. You have a home that you can pass down to your children. That's kind of wealth in a way. You take that away, what do we have? I'm just a renter renting someplace. And let's be real, no one's going to afford a home. So eventually, it's going to fall to the government. Government's going to own all this stuff. Now we pay them on top of our taxes. It's a mess. Like and this is the first time in my entire life I've ever heard my father talk this way. I've never heard him say this. I think I told this to you, Danny.
Yeah.
He told me a few weeks ago. He was saying like, if Kamala gets in, we're gonna have to leave California. We're not gonna make it.
Oh damn.
And I was like, coming from a lifelong, surfer, right? He never wants to leave the beach, but he sees the.
You know what the
writing on
best
wall.
part is too? I was just talking to your parents kind of about that when I was at your house last.
Oh, okay.
When we were inside in the kitchen, and like I was refreshing their memory where I lived and everything like that, and your mom, oh yeah, I remember, and then your dad was like, oh, I could never leave, da 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 da. So it's like just like within that short amount of time of like realization.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Damn.
Hey, remember when Scar killed Mufasa?
Yeah.
How Scar's like pride looked like shit. That's what it's gonna
Yeah.
look like. So
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly.
Yeah, my
A
dad
Lion King
even
reference, nice.
Yeah,
yeah,
that was good. Yeah.
I'm Team
Yeah, that was
Simba.
good. Yeah.
well, and I think for especially like you, Danny, and Jordan, and Sam. I know you have children with your lady, and I'm gonna be a father soon. And things just kind of hit different for me now. You know, you have to I look at life I try to realistically, okay? I ain't going to live forever, okay? I'm 38. Trust me, I feel it because I put a lot of use on this body, skydiving and surfing and running stupid amounts of miles. Things change when you get older.
Real stupid.
Yeah.
Right, Jordan? I don't know why.
Yeah, trust me. I'm paying the price. I feel it, man. But like you start to understand your mortality, right? The average lifespan of a human being in the United States is 70 years old. Okay, so if I think about that, my life is more than halfway done. I'm just having my first child. You know, what's the future look like for her? Like my time, the reality is my time on this earth will end. My success, the things that I have, promotions, bank account, homes, this podcast, when you die, it don't matter. It's over. So what am I passing to my kid, and what's her future going to look like? There's no way she's going to live in California. Maybe even the U.S. as a whole. Who knows? I don't know, but that as a parent, like thinking of being a parent soon, it worries me. Like, what's going to happen to my girl? I want her to have the best. I want her to have opportunity. I want her to be able to find someone and marry someone and have kids and be able to afford a home, what they call the American dream. There will be no more American dream soon. It's not going to happen. So, like, how do you change that? What do we do? And I tell people, it's voting. You got to, like, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And you can't, no one can tell me without bold-faced lying to me that you think you're better off right now.
Right.
It's insanely expensive for everything. Luckily, I got my home years ago, so my interest rate's like 2.25. That mess is like 7+ right now. Yeah.
Right.
I got in at 3, so I just barely made that cut.
You know, this is not, I don't want to sound crazy or weird, but, you know, these are things I think about now as like a middle-aged dude. Oh, my God. Like, what's that? What's going to happen for my child? I don't know.
I'm thinking that way, though, too, because I do think, you know, I guess Kamala's side, there's a lot of women that are supporting that because they're jump shot and, you know, banking on the vote for me because I'm a woman. No, because personally, I think it's chick think is what got us into this mess. Okay.
You bring up a good point.
Somebody who identifies. But so
chick think.
Two is I mean I gotta admit it.
No, I like it.
Right.
So but that's literally what's going on, and then you have the beta males going along with it. So chick think is really what's I personally think that's like messing a lot of these things up. It's like we can't go off of feelings; you have to go off of policies, which is why I am excited. Which I am excited that RFK and Trump are coming together because I'm hoping that helps, especially the moms, you know, come on over to that side that are thinking, because it's not only like crime and everything, but look at all the things that they're doing to our just regular home products as far as food, cleaning stuff, just what are they putting in the air, like. I think I've completely changed, or at least attempting to, trying to get my kid off like things like Lunchables and Goldfish, you know, because I'm really thinking more and more. I'm trying to homestead in my backyard, you know, like things like that, because I never was that type of person, like never. And so if you see me now, it's like I'm a completely different person from when we all reunited 4 years ago, pretty much.
Yeah.
I think all of us have changed completely.
Big time.
Did you hear the speech that he had talking about he was using the "Make America Healthy Again" moniker?
Yeah.
And there's a lot to that, but everything that you listed, like I totally agreed. You know, my wife and I were talking about it with one of our kids, because, you know, out of convenience and just feeding them whatever they'll eat kind of thing, and just, you know, they're like. A lot of time we're programmed that like, hey, this is okay, do this, blah, blah, blah. And we can get into whether it's food, healthcare, whatever. You know, the reality is that a lot of corners are cut and supplements are being used, and the potential for long-term problems statistically are a real thing. And I think that, and hearing that's awesome, but it's like you have one side talking about like bringing these topics up. And I really hope that the alignment with RFK, I don't agree with a lot of his policy outside of like healthcare. I agree with him a lot of stuff when it has to do with that. Other than that, like, I have some difference of opinion on things, but I think it'd be great that that became a focal point of moving forward, which once was. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, right? Like, whether it's talking about the food pyramid, which we come to find out there's a lot of falsities in that, but
Oh yeah, cereal's at the top.
Grains, baby, grains and
Yeah.
rice. But just processed foods and sugar, essentially. And there's so many complications that come with that, and these are like statistics that we see. It's like you want to talk about, some obscure numbers of things, but like they said, like it was back in like the early 80s or maybe it was late 70s, where it says like 1 in every 1,200 kids had a diagnosis for autism. Where now it's just saying it's like 1 in 22.
That's
And
crazy.
again, I understand the medical field as far as spectrums of what is. Sometimes things get expanded to where it's like, maybe back in the 70s, if some kid was a little bit more quiet or socially awkward, it was just like, they'll grow out of it, so they don't get attention in that way. And maybe it was the more real, like, kids that have issues with these things, that are a little bit more definite. Versus now, there's a name associated with everything because there's got to be a diagnosis for something across the board.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of those attributes are because of what we're putting in our bodies. And a lot of times the hard part is that like, dude, we all can't, we talk about inflation costs. Even that same bowl of cheap cereal costs 3 times what it cost 5 years ago. But if you're going to make the switch over to some organic supplementation of that, where it's a cleaner eating,
like
I can't
Spoon?
afford a $15 box of cereal. Spoon? Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
That's a great
I saw that. I
example.
was like, what? $9? And the box is like half the size of the regular box.
And that's on sale.
Yeah.
$9 for a box of that cereal is on sale,
Damn. Wow.
So it's just, look, again, election season, we're going to get a lot of information from both sides, but I did want to leave it with one thing that I thought was pretty crazy that Kamala Harris stated. And again, I don't think she's
Was
very
it
smart.
unburdened?
No. She does have a unique gift, though. I will give her that. Is that she's able to talk in a circle over and over and over again with trying to use big words as like the bridge to landing points, even though she doesn't land a point, but she just kind of keeps rambling and then stops, laughs, and everyone applauds. That's a unique skill. But what I did think was interesting that she stated is that she had two interviews, or I'm sorry, they weren't interviews. They were like speeches, I guess, whatever she was talking at. Both times.
Yeah, she doesn't do interviews.
Well, she doesn't do them by herself. She wants the buddy system, I guess. But
the emotional support animal.
Yeah, she stated twice that 220 million people in the United States died of COVID in the last 5 years.
Wait, hold on.
220 million.
That's a lot.
Wait, 220 million?
Correct.
Where the heck did she get that number?
That's insane.
I don't know, because if you look at the census, we didn't lose that many people. Like, we're talking, and I'm not saying that people didn't die from that. Yeah, and again, I don't mean that as in people are affected or that didn't have loved ones or family members or anyone pass away that had COVID. I'm not saying that at all. That was a thing. But 220 million would have been like we lost cities of people, and it wasn't just a snafu on a clerical error one time. She said it again at a different thing. So what I'm getting at is that the policy, the short-term future changes, there's another thing like that. What it is it's fear-mongering. It's be afraid of this one guy and look at all the things that have happened and don't worry, we're going to help you. And which is pretty crazy because all of us sitting here are stupid for not being in politics, because we could make a lot of money and sell just absolute bullshit and people will listen, and it's crazy because like I used to think that like, when I hear like party differentials and stuff, it's like, look, people are just playing the game, they're doing their thing, but it's like that attitude on my end has probably been bad too, because I feel like I'm not alone in that feeling. and we allow this as a society to take place. You know, and I'm not pitching one side versus the other. I'm just saying just government in general. You know, it's like when we buy into the BS of being told that, like, hey, we got you, don't worry, hang in there, this and that and whatever. And at the end of the day, what happens? Things cost more, you don't make more, and now you owe more. And that unrealized tax on I forgot how the
unrealized gains tax.
Unrealized gains
or
tax.
Capital gains. Yeah, unrealized gains or capital gains. Yeah.
If that goes through, if that's a true statement that she really wants to get done,
yeah,
help us all, really, if that happens. Because anybody out there who's nickeled and dimed their way into get any assets and any kind of value of putting yourself and your family in any position of long-term gain or wealth or prosperity, whatever term you want to use, that shit's gone. I mean, look at you're bringing up your parents is a great example, because I mean, having an unsubstantiated claim without anything behind that is frightening. Because if you said, you're like, hey, look, you, like, let's say your parents, where they bought their house, let's say in the 70s.
No, they did. I'll tell you right now, they bought it in 78 for $98,000.
Okay, and now let's say their house is worth $1 million.
Oh,
and if they have to pay $250,000 of whatever they have in equity and have to come up with that, because again, we're not talking about like, ooh, there's a game plan for this. They're just saying, I mean, look, dude, it's the same shit as her saying, we're going to stop corporate gouging and we're going to make food affordable again. You're like, well, what the fuck does that mean? Does that mean that
you could have done this whole time?
Yeah, you're like, you've had the opportunity to tell people to lower the cost. Now? You know, why now? Oh, because you're trying to get elected the next 3 months?
Exactly.
And let's say that happens. You know, and on the short term, does that sound cool? Yes, but what that does is now we have other government subsidies that are going to control the ability of what food cost is. Now, I don't know if anyone knows, but that's what communist countries do. And what that does is it drives disparity, because now you have resource issues. You have inabilities for farming to keep up with the vendor's costs. Because now if you said, hey, you can't charge more than 50 cents for a carton of eggs, well, if we have an egg crisis, then they'll just be like, hey, sorry, there's no eggs.
Exactly.
You know, and I'm not saying that having lower food costs wouldn't be a massive help, because it would. But in the long term, that's horrible. Because now we get rid of because now that takes out the capitalistic approach of anything.
Capitalism.
Because the idea is that we want people to fight over the cost of items, because that's going to drive prices lower. Thank you.
Exactly.
I could not think of that word.
Economics, bro. Economics. Yeah.
But and that's what it is. And it's like, again, we have someone who's a front runner for president, talking about these things, just saying stuff while they're out there, where you're like, whoa, is anyone going to check this person?
Right.
And I'll say the same things to Trump. If Trump makes an unsubstantiated statement where he's just like, yeah, we're going to do this, I'd be like, whoa, buddy, that's not what we should be doing. Like, if you're going to, that's how I talk to him.
Take it easy.
You know, I was like, that was probably the whitest thing that I've ever said on this podcast. Listen here, buddy. I'm going to stop you right there. You know, so, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's just, again, I think it's publicity stuff. It's just saying things to make people feel good about it. Of course, you're going to be like, yeah, we want to lower costs. We want to do this. How? No one says how. So if someone does have a little bit of a game plan, or at least a track record on showing things, I really hope people take that into consideration when they go to vote. And that's if your vote even gets counted, but we're not going to go down that route.
That's true. Look, dude, you bring up a good point. Like, I'm typically 50-50. There's a lot of things, at least before all this madness with the Democrats, I kind of support with Democrats. I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. And there's 50% of me that's like with the Republicans. Yeah, that sounds pretty great. But now, you know, you want to think in reality here. What's going to be best for your future and the future of your children, if you have some, or your future children, or your business, and what's not going to be? And it's a simple question I always say. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? It's not about race. It's not about male or female in the president's seat. What is going to be the best for the future? That's it. And I do want to ask this, you know, separate questions to Danielle and Sam. And Sam, being African American, you know, typically, historically, right, for our families, because I'm mixed, as everybody knows, right? And your dad is an immigrant, right, Sam? Right?
Yep.
He worked his butt off, right? I think, is your mom an immigrant too?
No, she's from here. Mm-hmm.
Okay. How do you feel, as far as, typically, historically, African Americans vote Democrat?
Yeah, for sure.
But how do you feel about that? Where sometimes you hear people like, Biden said it, right? You ain't black if you don't vote Democrat. So, in my opinion, and I want you to say this, but I do think that there's a lot of communities, African American, Hispanic, that have been used as pawns in politics by the Democrats, and nothing's been done for them. And I will say, for a fact, Trump was the one president that actually did something in the hood.
Yep. And I think
he's a brother.
And exactly. And African Americans and all minorities realize that. They realized, wow, you know what? I've always wanted to come up with something and maybe have my own business. And, in these 4 years, I was able to do that. And I was able to succeed, and maybe they've tried in the past, with other Democratic presidents, and it just didn't really, come to fruition. And to your point about minorities, man, it's sad, bro. Like, it's so sad. And I think a lot of it is that when we focus on us, on me, how can I really gain? What do I need to do to get better? I think a lot of people aren't necessarily thinking about me working my ass off and doing what I need to do. It's more of, me, my family, and my community. How can we all, grow? And that's good, right? But not when it's at the expense of someone, or when taxes are going up, because they're going up for a lot of people. And when I want to eventually be in that group, that's going to fuck me, that's going to hurt me, but they're thinking about now. And I don't think a lot of minorities historically have had the capacity to think about the future, so if you can't, then you're only thinking about today. How am I going to eat today? Where am I going to live tomorrow? What am I going to do in these upcoming times? And so you're not thinking long-term abstract. But I mean, my dad has always done that, obviously, to plan to come from Nigeria, to come to America. You're thinking about not just, I want to get to America. No, it took him 7 years. He's been planning this. Wow. He's like, why do I want to come here? Why do I want to be here? Well, I got friends that are coming here. We want to get into whatever business sector we want to do, So I really think, the problem is focusing on today. But I think that problem is because we don't have the means to focus on the future. And so I think, to Jordan, your point, to Tim, your point, it's kind of understanding how we can solve both of those problems together at the same time, without, fucking everyone else, and I think that's the main problem. Exactly, man.
Yeah, well said, dude.
Yeah.
No, that's why I've kind of wanted to ask that. It's like, how do I say this without sounding racist? That's all I was worried. I'm like, I want to say that. Like,
that's what's stupid.
You have me ask the question. That's how.
Yeah. No. I it's great input, Sam. That's the whole reason. Like, I love having everybody on here because there's such good perspectives. Everyone's background is so different. Everyone brings so much to this. That's why I can feel like, I can ask Sam this. It's good. You're in the community, dude. Most of us came from nothing with our parents, right? It's not like we all came from money. We struggled to get to where we're at. We fought for the American dream, which is being taken away from people. Now, Dani,
American nightmare, bro. American nightmare.
God,
that's what it is.
If they do that unrealized tax, unrealized gains, like, we're all losing our homes. It's over, dude.
It's done.
But Dani,
my grandpa would say he was a wire cutter. That's how he got here, and then that's how we all got here.
Dang.
Wow.
So he's not a wetback. He says he was a wire cutter.
My man. My man.
Dani. So I just want to ask Dani a question real quick.
Yeah.
Being a female and a minority, there's some videos that I have watched on social media of different podcasts, and you see them, people going out and talking to people in cities, whatever. And they've been questioning a lot of women. Hey, who are you voting for? And they asked them why. And a lot of them were voting for Kamala. And they asked why. What has she done? And I want to say 99% were just like, well, it's because she's a woman. That's it. It's just because she's a woman. And I'm
Absolutely ridiculous.
That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, do you want to crash and burn? So I'm asking, as someone who's a minority and a woman, what is your thought on that? As far as a female president, Kamala, or somebody else in the future, what are your views on that?
I mean, like, to put it blunt, is like I just said, like, kind of like a chick think type thing. I feel like you need, not saying that women aren't strong, because we are, but I do feel, we think a lot with feelings on the softer side, and you have to kind of be a little cutthroat. You can't please everybody. So you do have to look at what's going to help the majority. And to me, like when I see Trump's policies, I see that helping the majority of things, along with what's my number one priority will always be my kids. And I see much better outcomes with what he's trying to lay down versus her. I mean, I haven't heard anything else other than how the wheels on the bus go round and that she hasn't been to Europe. So that's what I've heard.
I just want to add to that point. I think a lot of it is also not just because she's a woman, but because she's black. And because she's black, we can kind of dovetail off of Obama, right?
Right, true.
Right.
I thought she was Indian,
when
Sam.
When I want to know about how to make a mean dish of curry, then I'll hit her up. But until then, it's like that was another thing that I was sitting there thinking about when you were asking Sam the question. Is like, aren't any of them offended that they're making them look dumb?
I know.
Like they're making cultures look stupid. You know, like why aren't they pushing for Asians to vote that way or other ethnicities? You only see them targeting Hispanics or blacks. So are you looking at us head on like these are the dumb ones? These are the ones who don't know?
Honestly, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm really glad you said that. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I mean, I'm not glad you said that because it's bad that we're in that situation. But I do find that like kind of the irony of the situation is that like the push of like civil rights of like we're all equal, regardless of what we look like. And I feel like we've kind of had this like weird flip back into like a segregative opinion piece where it's like because you are you and which is not like me, you're more valued than my statement or how I feel about something. And it's like, or the way things are proposed as far as how it's being talked about, like as a minority female in that way. And I don't mean that because of what you said, Tim. I mean, like when you're watching these videos and you're seeing how things are proposed, you're like, ooh, because you're in this group, how does that make you feel? Instead of just being like, hey, as an American or, you're a woman, what do you think about this?
Solid point.
Like it's the way things that are pitched. And it's like this indirect way of keeping people back into a group.
Right.
And it's like a reverse segregation thing back into a segregative outlook. And it's like,
and then it keeps you segregated.
Yes. And it's like, oh my God, dude, like at what point does it like not matter? Like, can I ask you a question because you're Sam or Dani or Tim or myself? Like it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with like, yo, dude, what do you think about this? And it's just like,
Sam, do you have an ID?
Why?
Sam, do you have an ID?
I see that you got on the computer successfully. I'm glad to see that.
Because I heard that, certain ethnicities can't get IDs, or don't know how to.
I think what Gretchen Whitmer stated was that the African American community has a hard time because they don't really know how to use a computer.
That's so bad.
So Tim, Sam, I'm glad we were able to do this successfully together and prove the system wrong. You're like, dude, but like, okay, but we joking about this because it's funny. But the truth is that this is a governor of a state made that statement in an interview of talking about why we don't want voter ID issues because we're worried about certain communities' inability to be able to access a computer or not. I'm sorry, not even access is what she said. She said use a computer. So it's not even like, hey, you might not have enough money to have a computer, which that would have been a better way to say it. But instead of stating it like, oh, because of your inability to use a computer, you're like, okay, And again, there might be people out there that really don't know how to use a computer, but they probably could use a phone because that seems to be pretty universal at this point.
Well, to your point, dude, there was a podcaster who went around. He took that same thing.
I'm going to disappear for a quick second, but I can still
go
hear
for
you.
it. And he interviewed people in the hood. He went to Detroit and down to like L.A. somewhere, right? And he said, hey, this governor said this. He was asking African-American people, right? We can still hear you, Danny.
I bet she's going to the bathroom.
It's really cool.
That'd be hilarious.
But he asked them, do you know where the DMV is? And they're like, yeah. They're like, do you know how to use internet and log on a computer? And they're looking at him like he's crazy. They're like, yeah. We're like, well, hey, this is what this governor said. Boom, 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 right? And they're like, that's ridiculous. Like, we're not dumb. He's like, I got a phone. He put his phone up, one of the guys. He's like, DMV's over here on 256th and 3rd Street. He's like, yeah, I can log on internet anytime, and I'm registered to vote. It's just kind of crazy, dude. I'll say this, and I want to go back to you, Sam, because I know you had something to say. But they do think people are stupid. And I think people are catching on. I really do. Because there's more people that I know that are African-American, like family members and friends, that they ain't voting for Kamala, dude. They're like, no, we're done. They haven't done anything for us. We're out. It's different. But go ahead, Sam. I know you had something to say.
No, I was just going to say, like, to your point, Tim, people are catching on. And I think it just goes back to that group mindset. African Americans, we've had a lot of persecution, whatever you want to call it. A lot of races have. But in America, it's been just crazy, right? So you're going to focus on the group if you want things to move forward, and move forward meaning, hey, you want some money? Vote for me. Like, to your point, Jordan, just keep handing out, and I can keep getting that vote. But when you start to realize, well, I am a part of a group, but like, what about me? Like, there are random people in the world that have dreams, the American dream, that want to do better. And maybe that dream is bigger than the group, so then they start to have this abstract, realization, like, I can do fucking better, and so then they raise above whatever the group is doing. And then they start realizing, well, shit, I mean, what could I do to contribute to my life? Danny, to your point, to my family, to my kids, how can I make my little group better and than what it was 4 years ago? Well, the way that I can do that is by focusing on me. And when you focus on yourself, a lot of the times, everybody that does that, that bigger group ends up being a better group, because you're all thinking about, well, I have something different than you do, but then how do we work together, to be a better group in the long term? So I don't know, man. I just think it's really seeing ourselves, pulling ourselves out of that group, and seeing what is better in my life and what I need to be better, as opposed to thinking on the macro, the global scale,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
the biggest thing I always want to
you're not defined by a group.
Exactly.
That's the reality of it. That's what the push was. That's what the civil rights movement was about, is that you are not defined on what this it's your character content. I know I've said that 1,000 times on this. And it's like, I'm not saying that as a white person trying to quote Martin Luther King. I'm just saying,
you Sam people. What do you mean? You ain't white?
Exactly.
Right.
You Sam people, son. What?
Well, which
That's right.
we're gonna go low key here because what my ethnicity isn't super popular in the world right now. But ew. But what I mean is that it's like again, we fall under election time. What does that do? It's you're trying to whatever, if you want to label it as minority communities or what have you. You are in the spot because the system let you down. Right? There's no, or because of the persecution and everything. It's like, dude, no one's questioning the fact that shit was fucked up a while back. No one's questioning that. I think the reality is where we are now moving forward, not getting rid of the past. Obviously, use it as a learning tool, but to keep segregating groups of people of saying you're this because of this, look what you need, not who are you as the individual and how you're going to get yourself better. And I think what you said, Sam, was really awesome. Because I think that's the truth. The truth is that the focus isn't like, oh, I look like this, therefore I am this. It's what am I doing as me as the individual, and how am I trying to better my situation? You know, whether that's for your personal gain, for your family, for your friends, or maybe the community that you're in and growing within that community, because that's what's contagious. Having that attitude, trying to, you know, make yourself, your situation better. Therefore, everyone around you hopefully picks up on that and tries to do it. And lo and behold, everyone's in. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then so on and so forth. But this victimhood mentality of being like, oh, it's because of X, Y, and Z is why you're where you're at. Now, that does happen. You know, again, it's not saying that it's not everybody, because that's dumb. We can't generalize everything in that way. But to say that like you're always going to be this because of what you look like, it's like, oh my God, can we get past this a little bit and just be like, you know, everyone out here is trying, you know,
Exactly.
And then the ones that aren't, you should start freaking trying, because there's a lot of us that are, and we want to make this place better, you know, and that's what it boils down to. But again, we're in political times. No one wants to hear that, because again, that's whether you want to call it low-hanging fruit or it's easy things to poke at or whatever to make you look like, yeah, we should do this because of, you know, it's like, look, because of inner cities, because of illegal immigrants, because of this, you know, and it's just like, okay, yeah, but in those groups, there are people that are actually trying. So why don't we help these people out? Not just making it, you know, and again, it's, I mean, I'll sound redundant in how I talk about that, but you know, at the end of the day, I think stay informed, try to better your situation, vote for what's going to make it best for yourself and your immediate family. And if we do that, then I think the right people will get into office. And I'm not even talking about this next 4 years, because honestly, if I'm being truly honest, I think one of two things is going to happen. One, if Kamala wins, the whole right side is going to be crazy for a little while. And then I think, again, if Trump wins, I think we're just going to see kind of what happened in the 4 years of Trump, whether it's, you know, trying to impeach him, or he's going to have bad deals, or this and that and whatever, and it's going to get drowned out with any policy that's actually trying to drive forward and make the American people a better society.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I'm talking not this next 4 years, I'm talking 8, 12 years down the line, you know, so keep that, you know, and everyone, you know, hopefully everyone sticks to that. Is like, we got to vote to make the situation better for us, you know, and I mean that as American citizens trying to make our families the best that we can moving forward. Because like Tim, and you nailed it with a lot of things that you said earlier, where it's like, you know, living in this state, it's crazy, you know, and the way things that are getting pitched and all this stuff, and it's like, oh my God, dude, if that happens, whoo.
Well,
you know,
yeah, dude.
I guess I'll be moving somewhere else.
Well,
America, stay awake, stay alive at this point.
Oh, I love it. We got to wrap this up, you
America
guys.
Go woke.
Stay awake. Stay awake.
Awake.
Stay awake, stay alive.
You guys all had really, really good things to say. We got to wrap this up. We went way over than I thought we were, but it was so good. I wanted to keep it going. But the last thing I do want to say, what I thought is really, really hilarious and just poetry in motion. And Danny, you brought this up on these topics, and I wanted to talk about it. I'm just going to say it, is the fact that we have open borders, but at the DNC, they put up fences. What? What happened? And then they weren't letting people in who didn't have ID. Really?
Oh,
really? I thought we didn't need ID. What happened?
Right.
You know what I like too is at the DNC when they're sitting.
What? Wait, go ahead.
Oh yeah.
The booths at the DNC were $150,000 a booth per night.
Fuck.
Well, if they come from California and get that handout.
Right.
On top of all the sweets, that the whole thing was riddled with billionaire, whatever, rich people, and then they're saying, "Oh yeah, let's go, let's tax you guys more," you know, like come on,
right?
Hypocrisy.
They're like, we're going to gouge these people in
but
charge.
Don't worry,
They're all
we're gonna
literally
have
sitting there going,
okay.
I'm
like, telling you, I just thought it was hilarious. When I saw that, like, well, we're not letting anyone in who doesn't have ID, and then we're putting up fences, I'm like, oh, that's ironic.
I just don't understand how people don't see the hypocrisy. It's like, just admit it. You got bent over. You fell for it. So come on. There's nothing wrong. Just humble yourself and be like, come on. We got to come about this a different way.
I'm going to say this, and I don't mean to be rude to people, and this is just because I've been in my career field for 17 years. But straight up, Danny and Sam, you guys have probably seen this, but like the average person is pretty stupid. Like honestly, they're really freaking dumb.
Retard level.
Yeah, that's why I'm just like, they'll read headlines and they won't read articles.
Uh-huh.
You know, they'll just take, the news said it, the government said it, right? I remember a guy that at where I work, he's a captain, and he said, I don't get it. Why doesn't everyone just do what the government tells them, right? And the whole table went quiet. And I just looked and went like this.
What?
And I was like, I guess you know what side you would have been on in World War II.
Yeah,
he got pissed. Pissed. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't talk to me
well, if
for a
we
bit.
do that, there will be World
That's
War
a good
III.
comeback,
So.
That is good. That is good.
Yeah. Anyways, here, I'm going to drop this video in here for you guys real quick. I want to show you. I don't know if you've seen this, okay? It's so dope.
Huh?
You guys seen this?
No. What is this?
Get him, baby! He's the one! Look at this!
That's crazy. What the fuck? Best part.
It gets better. You guys remember Matrix, right?
Shoes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Those golden shoes. Yep. Yep.
He's the one.
Wow.
I love it. Whoever made this was amazing.
Wow.
That's pretty good.
I
That's
just wanted to
funny.
show you guys that. I thought it was pretty hilarious.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah,
That
and then
is
there's
pretty
one more. I want to end this on a light note because we hit some pretty heavy stuff. But real quick, there's another one I want to show you. I don't know if you've seen this, the camouflage face.
Oh my!
Oh, dude.
If that was me, you'd be missing some eyes real quick. I would freak out.
I'm sorry. I saw this. I'm like,
straight for the sockets.
I would just poop, I think.
yeah, I wanted to show them. But thank you guys so much for taking the time to be on here. This has been like, I feel so energized from doing this with you guys because it's been so long, and I wanted to tell all three of you. I almost said four because there's 4 cameras, but I love and appreciate you all so much. You guys have been such a big part of just my daily life and growing and being friends. You see me through good and bad, and to be back on here doing this right now is just awesome. And to know that I'm having a child and you guys are all going to be around and be aunts and uncles to her is just super special. So I love all of you, and I just want to thank you so much for wanting to be a part of this and keep going on and doing it. And it's just awesome. It's been so much fun just chatting on here and laughing and doing this again. And I love you guys, and I really appreciate it. So thank you so freaking much.
We love you, Tim.
It's kind of wild.
Yeah,
It's been
I love
4
you too,
years.
man. This is awesome.
Yeah, 4
Yeah.
years.
So it doesn't feel like it. It feels like
Crazy.
we kind of all just came together within the last year. But it's like
Right.
within the 4 years, we've kind of reunited and got to know each other more. It's like, I think it's wild how far we've come. Like just the different scenarios that have happened in each of our lives in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
I was so pumped
Oh, yeah.
for today. It's been way overdue, and I love talking to you guys. And I just appreciate our ability to do this kind of stuff. And then this is I know you guys knew each other a little bit before, but it was just coming together and just kind of how this has grown. It's been such an awesome thing to be a part of, and I miss you guys. And
Yeah, it's dope.
Ouch,
I sent
Jordan.
a text out there this morning. And I was, well, you're out of state, dude. Okay, you're cool over here. We're in Idaho.
Yeah, we're in California, dude.
I didn't mean that in a
Yeah.
bad way. I meant ouch. It hurt my heart. I was so touched.
Oh yeah, well, it's we have a lot of fun doing this, and it's cool to. It's just I don't know. Anyway, I always look forward to it. I'm glad we're able to do it via this, and then obviously Tim, dude, thank you so much for setting this up, and it's just I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, if anyone asks me to be a part of their wedding ever again, I'm not doing it. I'm over it. I'll never be a part of another wedding. I'll leave it at that. It's all your fault.
Hurts,
Yeah, I'm like, all your friends were hammered. Anyways, you guys ready to get Let's Go in 3?
Yeah.
We gotta do
Let's
it.
get it.
We gotta do it.
Let's
All
get
right.
it.
1, 2, 3. Let's go.
Let's go.
Bye, everybody.